What is meditation? Why is it important? What does it mean to meditate properly? What results can we achieve with meditation?
Could you please explain to us the importance of meditation? Why should we care for meditation?
It is necessary to know how to meditate. What do we want to attain from meditation? To calm ourselves, to get peacefulness. What we are saying may seem very superfluous, and you could say that we can calm down with a bottle of wine, couldn't you? You could also object that we may calm down by listening to a symphony of Beethoven. However, as a matter of fact and in truth, attaining peacefulness is the most difficult thing you can imagine. Thus, no one is able to have mental tranquility, to have real peace of mind, without having eliminated all the useless and futile thoughts from his intellectual center. No one can have peace of the heart without having previously eliminated from himself the negative and harmful emotions.
But don't we already experience tranquility, peace of mind, when we take a break from some activity? The mind relaxes naturally and we experience peace.
Usually, our mind is permanently acting and reacting according to the impacts of the outer world. Let us compare this to a lake into which we throw a stone. We will see many waves that originate from the center towards the periphery as a reaction of the water against the impact from the outer world. Something similar happens to the mind and feelings when someone hurts us with harsh words. The impact of a harsh word will arrive to the intellectual center or thinking center, and we will react from there in a violent way. If someone hurts our self-love, we will feel annoyed, and we will probably react in a brutal way. In all circumstances of life, the mind and feelings take an active part and react incessantly. It would be interesting, my dear students, not to give any chance, neither to the feelings nor to the mind. It is urgent to attain a passive mind. Only then can we experience true peace.
Wait a minute. What you're saying is totally different from what I've heard before. Normally, people talk about having an active mind, and you're telling us to have a passive mind.
It is urgent to attain a passive mind. The passive mind is against all those who say that the power is in the mind. Nevertheless, the negative form of the mind is the most eloquent. The highest way of thinking is not to think. Novelty comes when the process of thinking has exhausted. It is necessary to understand this properly. A mind that does not project, a passive mind that is placed in the service of the being, is an efficient instrument, because the mind is made to be receptive, to work as a passive instrument and not as an active instrument. The mind in itself is feminine. We must not allow the mind nor the feelings to take part in the diverse circumstances of our existence.
Interesting. And what can you tell us about the feelings? Where do they originate from?
Through my investigation and experience, I have verified that they belong to the ego and that they are closely related to the inferior emotional center. The therapy we need to know thoroughly in order to avoid any inner imbalance and outer repercussions is not to allow the mind any kind of reaction. For example, if someone hurts us, we should not allow the mind to react. Hopefully, someone can hurt our feelings often so that we can train ourselves much better. The more we are insulted, the better for our training, because we will have more opportunities not to allow our mind and feelings to react. That is to say, to prevent them from intervening or meddling in the circumstances of our life.
But how does all this relate to our consciousness? You have always said that consciousness is the most important energy we have.
It is clear that the passive states of mind, feelings, and personality demand a great deal of activity from the consciousness. And the more active our consciousness remains, the better for its awakening. The consciousness is unavoidably going to awaken. if it is in permanent activity. Right now, Buddha Gautama Sakyamuni comes to my memory. On one occasion, the great Buddha was seated at the foot of a tree in deep meditation when a troublemaker arrived and tried to hurt him with harsh words. The Buddha followed meditating while the troublemaker continued cursing, insulting, and hurting. Much later, the Buddha opened his eyes and asked the troublemaker, "Oh, my brother, if someone brings a present for you and you do not accept the present, then to whom does the present belong to?" The troublemaker answered, "To the one that has brought it, of course." The Buddha said to him, "My brother, take your present. I cannot accept it," and continued meditating. Here is a beautiful and sublime lesson. The Buddha did not allow his mind nor his feelings to react, as the Buddha lived completely awake within his own consciousness and did not give any chance to his mind nor feelings to react at any moment, under any circumstance. Beloved disciples, we must live in the same way. The school is everywhere. It is at home, in the office, at work, at the company, on the streets, and everywhere, even in a temple, with the fellows of study, with our children, parents, wife, nephews, grandsons, cousins, relatives, friends, etc., etc. Every psychological gymnasium is indispensable for us, in spite of how hard and difficult it may seem. The secret is not to allow the feelings or the mind to take part in the practical business of our life. We must always allow the consciousness to be the only one which acts, commands, works, speaks, makes, and executes all our daily activities. In this way, we will be harmoniously prepared for meditation.
So we have to prepare well in our daily life in order to be ready to enter into meditation effectively?
What we are seeking is indeed to go beyond the mind and feelings, and this is possible when we have intensively trained in our practical life, in our daily life, for this wonderful aim. During meditation, we must get the essence, the Buddhata, the worthy, the decent, the best we have inside, out of its bottle. Indeed, this essence, or Buddhata, is bottled up inside the inhuman elements, in those psychological aggregates which make up the I, the myself, the ego. It would not be possible to experience the real, the truth, that which is certainly our concern, if we are not able to get our essence out of the ego. Then we cannot experience the real. We will always live in the world of dreams, in the intellectual, instinctive, emotional, motor, or sexual center. But in any case, we would not be able to escape and experience the truth. The great Kabir Jesus said, "Know the truth, and the truth will set you free." The truth is not a question of theories, is not a question of believing or not believing, is not a question of concepts and opinions either. For example, we could have an idea about the sun, and this idea could even be fascinating. It could be very near to what the sun really is, but it would never be the sun. In the same way, we could have a number of ideas about the truth, but never attain that truth. When Jesus the Christ was asked about the truth, he kept silence. When the Gautama Buddha Sakyamuni was asked about the same, he turned his back and went away. The truth cannot be defined by words. Anyone, for example, can have a great ecstasy when the sun is setting in the golden splendor of a mountain range, and try to communicate such mystical experience to other people. But it is very probable that the other person will not feel the same. In the same way, the truth is incommunicable. It is only real for the person who experiences it by himself. When we attain the truth in absence of the ego, we can feel an element that is able to change us radically, an element of very high voltage. But it is necessary to put the consciousness to work in place of the mind and the feelings. The consciousness has to do the work inside us. It has to be incorporated, integrated within us. We must have a passive mind, passive feelings, a passive personality, but a very active consciousness. It is urgent, essential to understand this in order to become an expert in meditation.
So once we start preparing ourselves well, then what are the next steps to enter into meditation?
If we want to apprehend the real, if we want to experience the truth, if we want to feel in our psyche that element that is able to transform us radically, we need the calmness and silence of the mind. It is not a matter of putting the mind in blank. It is a matter of attaining calmness and silence of the mind, which is different. When the process of thinking has been exhausted, the mind remains quiet and in silence. Then novelty arises. It is not a question of fighting against the thoughts that come to the mind until the mind remains quiet. No. It is rather a question of contemplating those thoughts, understanding them, to contemplate those desires intelligently, to contemplate and to understand all memories that come to the mind. While we understand all that arrives to our mind, we should not say a single word. Let's imagine that the memory of a scene of anger at home comes to the mind. What should we do? We should try to understand it. And after understanding it, what should we do? We should forget it. If another memory arises later, a conversation with our father or with our mother or with our neighbor, what to do? To reject it? Absurd. Then what? Meditate and understand it. Once it has been understood, forget it. If the memory of a football match arises, what to do? Should we reject it? No. I repeat, we should understand the triviality of all that, the hollowness of this memory. Once it has been deeply understood, forget it. In this way, all that parade of thoughts, desires, feelings, memories, etc. will have a beginning and an end. When the tape of memories, desires, thoughts, emotions, etc. is finished, the mind is still and in silence. Then, novelty arises. What about if it does not come? It is simple. We have not attained the absolute stillness in all the levels of the mind. Then there is no other option than going further down to deeper levels until we reach the level 49. If we get there, if we get each of the 49 levels to obey us, then the mind will finally be still and in silence. The result is that the essence will escape from the bottle of the intellect and will experience that element which transforms us radically. Novelty, the real.
Could you please explain to us about this element that can transform us radically? What is the experience of samadhi, or the real, or what people also call illuminating void?
It is very difficult to explain the void, for it is indefinable and indescribable. The void is a state of absolute absence of the pluralized I. Only in the absolute absence of the I can we experience that which is real. That which does not belong to time. The illuminating void is not the nothing. The void is life, free in its movement. The void is that which is, has always been, and always will be. The void is beyond time and eternity. I feel the obligation to share what I have directly verified about it myself. When the second sub-race of our current great Aryan race flourished in ancient China, I was reincarnated there. At that time, my name, Cho Li. Obviously, I was a member of the Zhou dynasty. In that existence, I was an active member of the Order of the Yellow Dragon. And it was clear that I could learn the science of meditation perfectly in that order. Until now, I remember that marvelous instrument called Ayatapan that had 49 musical notes. Undoubtedly, there were 7 notes in the musical scale, but if we multiply 7 by 7, we will get 49 notes arranged in 7 octaves. The brothers met together in the meditation room. We sat in a circle in the center of the room. We closed our eyes, and we immediately paid a lot of attention to the music that a certain brother played to the cosmos and to us. When the artist played the first note, which was a do, we concentrated on it. When he made the next note, re, vibrate, the concentration was deeper. We fought against the different subjective elements that we carry within ourselves. We used to reproach them to make them understand the need of keeping an absolute silence. It is good to remind you, my dear brothers, that those undesirable elements are the ego, the I, the myself, the oneself. They are like perverse entities that personify our errors. When the note me was played, we penetrated into the 3rd zone of the subconscious to confront the multiplicity of those diverse psychic aggregates that in disorder clatter within ourselves and disturb the stillness and silence of the mind. We reproached them, and we tried to understand them. Gagging all those demons of desire that we carry inside us is not that easy. But we achieved it with patience. We made the same effort in a higher octave. And little by little, fighting against the diverse infrahuman elements that we carry within ourselves, we finally succeeded in gagging them in the 49 levels of the subconscious. Then the mind kept still, in the deepest silence. At that moment, the essence, the soul, the purest we have inside, escaped to experience the real. Thus we penetrated into the illuminating void. While we were there, we were able to listen to the voice of the Father that is in secret. Undoubtedly, we were in a state which could be called rapture or ecstasy. The personality remained in a passive state, seated there in the meditation room. When the samadhi had finished, we returned to our body, keeping the memory of all that we had seen and listened. One day, it doesn't matter which, while being in the illuminating void, I experienced the unity of life, free in its movement. Then, I was the flower, the crystalline river which flows in its bed of rocks, singing on its delicious language. I was all that is, has been, and will be. I felt that I had been annihilated, that I had ceased to exist as an individual. I felt an unspeakable fear and came back to the human form. It is necessary to eliminate the I of fear, and this I can only be eliminated with the power of the Divine Mother, Kundalini Shakti. First, we should analyze it, understand it, and later invoke Devi Kundalini, our particular divine cosmic mother, in order that she disintegrates the I of fear. The truth cannot be described. It cannot be explained. Each person has to experience it by himself. Through the technique of meditation, in the illuminating void, we experience the truth, which is an element that transforms us radically. We have to persevere, to be tenacious. It is obvious that we attain such experience through different degrees. The devotee will feel more and more the intimate impulse of his being. He will go through different experiences more or less clear, and finally, the day will come when he will have the best of the experiences, the direct experience of the great reality. Then he will receive the Tao. Perseverance is indispensable. Daily and profound work is required until we achieve complete triumph. The experience of the truth through meditation is extraordinary. After experiencing the truth, we feel enough strength to persevere in the work on ourselves. When someone has indeed lived that mystical experience, everything changes. Nothing can stop his longing for liberation. He will work intensively on himself in order to truly get a radical, total, and definitive change. The poor intellectual animal, mistakenly called man, is weak by nature, and he is placed on a very disadvantageous situation. His ego is far too strong, and his personality is terribly weak. If we leave him alone, he can hardly walk. He needs something that encourages him to work, needs inner support. This is only possible through meditation.
Is there a suitable time to meditate, or can it be done anytime?
We should practice daily. At what time? Well, whenever we feel like doing it, especially when we feel sleepy. Meditation without sleep damages the brain. Sleep should always be used in combination with the technique of meditation, but a sleep with control, a voluntary sleep. During meditation, we should keep our eyelids closed. We need to combine sleep with meditation in harmonic proportions, without forgetting the law of balance. You really need some 50% of sleep and 50% of meditation. If we put more sleep than meditation, we will fall into the unconsciousness. If we put more meditation than sleep, we will damage the mind and the brain. However, if we learn to combine harmoniously sleep and meditation, we will attain that which is called samadhi, ecstasy.
How long should one meditate for?
I would not answer, because if someone enters into meditation and is worried about time, he will not be able to experience the illuminating void, since it does not belong to time. This would be something similar to a bird that tries to fly while having a claw tied to a stone or to a stick. It cannot fly. There would be a tie. In order to experience the illuminating void, we have to be free of any ties. Meditation should therefore be deep, profound, long. The path of deep meditation requires a lot of patience. The impatient ones never triumph. The I of impatience has to be eliminated after being comprehended. May this be clearly understood. The Gnostic students should practice intensely during their lives, and if they do it in this way, they will live a deep life and attain self-realization.
Lastly, is there a specific suitable position that we should use for meditation?
In the East, they put much emphasis on the Padmasana position with crossed legs, but not everyone in the East meditates with crossed legs. For correct meditation, we can sit down in a comfortable armchair with arms and legs well relaxed, with the whole body well relaxed, without leaving any muscle under tension. Maybe someone prefers the position of the flaming star, a 5-pointed star, lying down on the floor or on the bed, with the mouth upwards, opening both arms and legs with the head towards the north. Another position that we can assume is the dead man posture. Then you have to appear like a corpse, the heels touching each other and the tips of the feet opened like a fan. The arms of the corpse should remain along the sides of the body. Every person is different, and the only thing to do is to find the most comfortable position, forgetting any rule, model of asana, or system. Nevertheless, the position should allow the body to be comfortable. This is obvious. The important thing is to be comfortable in order to do a good meditation.